Karl Malone. Before making it to the NBA in the early 1980s, Karl Malone got involved in a legal situation with an underage. Malone impregnated a 13-year-old Gloria Bell in Louisiana while he was 20 years of age at the time. He was identified as the father of the child, Demetrius Bell, after a lawsuit was filed and a court order which prompted him to undergo a paternity test came out positive, as the DNA results confirmed a 99.3% chance of him being the father of the child. At first, he didn't want to take up responsibility for the child, nor did he want to get involved with the child's upbringing. But after several legal actions from the parents of Bell, it was ruled that he was to fulfill his financial support obligations to the child. It was ruled for him to pay $125 weekly and support medical expenses. After a while, it was reported that he reached for a confidential settlement with the family. The story was somewhat quiet during his NBA career, which began with the Utah Jazz in 1985. However, after some years, the story resurfaced after an investigative report, which went on to draw attention to the relationship and the age difference when the incident occurred. As time passed on, his son went on to become a professional footballer in the NFL, and his public appearances brought about the discussion of his father's absence during his early childhood years. Malone has come out and granted an interview about the situation, after being silent on the issue for several years. But the public scrutiny about the matter never seemed to go away. Derrick Rose. In the year 2015, Derrick Rose alongside two of his associates were indicted in a civil lawsuit that was filed by a woman who was referred to as Jane Doe. The woman from Los Angeles alleged of a sexual assault that occurred in August 2013, where she claimed to have been incapacitated and did not consent to any sexual contact. In her recount, she stated that the three men broke into her apartment in Los Angeles and assaulted her while she was drunk. However, Rose, on the other hand, denied that the encounter with the lady was rather consensual. In his recount, he made it known the sexual encounter was consensual among them all, and she was the one who initiated the encounter and invited them over to her apartment. The case got dragged to a federal civil trial in 2016, where several means of communication were tendered as evidence. There were a series of text messages by the plaintiff sent to Rose the morning after the incident, and none made mention of an assault. There was also testimony from all parties involved in the case. During the hearing, Rose admitted to having had sexual encounter with her, and also maintained his stand that it was a consensual affair. Then, after several deliberations on the case, the jury did return on an unanimous verdict that found both Rose and the co-defendants not liable to the claims. Rose was legally cleared of the charges, but despite the verdict of the case, it had garnered a lot of public sympathy across social media. Despite all of the situation, the NBA did not impose any disciplinary actions on him. O.J. Mayo. O.J. Mayo was dismissed from the NBA in July 2016 after he violated the league's anti-drug policy. His violation of the policy went on to trigger an immediate ban of 2 years, making him ineligible to play in the league. The specific substance was not disclosed to the public as it was against the league policy. Before this particular incident, he had initially been suspended in 2011 for 10 games, having tested positive to a banned steroid. This went on to place him on a severe disciplinary league rules. However, after 2 years of serving his time, he applied for reinstatement, expressing his desire to return to the league. At the time of his dismissal, he was a free agent, having completed his 3 years contract with the Milwaukee Bucks. During the time, it was reported he underwent rehabilitation and also worked toward compliance with the league requirements. Despite his eligibility, he did not return to the NBA, and this ended his career at the age of 28. Jason Kidd. January 2001, Jason Kidd got arrested and was charged for domestic abuse based on an incident that involved his ex-wife, Jumana Kidd, in their home in Paradise Valley. Based on police reports, the altercation went on to result in visible injuries on Jumana. However, Kidd pleaded guilty to the charge of spousal abuse when he was tried. And during the legal resolution of the case, he was ordered to attend anger management counseling for the duration of 6 months and was fined $200. Kidd's case was handled within the confinement of the criminal justice system, and he complied with the court orders. During this period, he was an active NBA player for the Phoenix Sun and was a prominent player in the league. The incident drew a lot of attention and speculation. Unfortunately, the league did not sanction him from the incident, as it was not a policy as at the time of occurrence. He later came out and apologized about the incident and admitted it was a serious personal mistake and he was working on himself. His career continued on the upward trajectory, and he also went on to later on get traded to the Nets. Lamar Odom. On October 13, 2015, Lamar Odom was found unconscious with foam and blood coming out of his mouth and nose at Love Ranch Brothel in Nevada after abusing substances for several days, according to reports from the Nye County Sheriff and medical reports. It was reported of him to have consumed cocaine, and abused over 10 doses of herbal Viagra called Reload that contains sildenafil during his stay at the brothel. It was the staff of the brothel who made an SOS call to emergency services after he was discovered unresponsive in his room. Lamar was later moved to a hospital in Las Vegas and also transferred to Los Angeles for continued treatment. According to medical reports, he suffered from multiple strokes and a kidney failure while he was in a coma. His then estranged wife, Khloe Kardashian, made several critical medical decisions while he was on bed. She went on to authorize a high-risk surgery for his lungs. Before this point, the NBA had already distanced itself from Lamar during the early stage of his career, as he was not an active player in the league. Lamar eventually recovered after several months of rehabilitation, and the case spiked a lot of attention both in the NBA and on socials. And just recently, Netflix released a documentary, Untold: The Death and Life of Lamar Odom. Based on Lamar's personal claim, he went on to maintain his stand that he did not knowingly take cocaine at the brothel, and believes his drink was spiked in a hit or setup. If you enjoy this kind of NBA content, subscribe to the channel. Thank you. Darren Collison. Darren Collison was arrested in Placer County, California in May 2016 and was charged with a domestic battery after an incident with his wife. Based on police reports available, deputies from the Placer County Sheriff responded to an SOS call from a woman reporting an assault. Collison was taken into custody and was booked for a felony charge of corporal injury on spouse. However, he was later released after some hours on a bail of $55,000. Court proceedings followed and he simply pleaded guilty to the one count of misdemeanor domestic battery. And as part of the sentencing, he received 20 days in county jail through community service, 3 years of informal probation, mandatory participation in a 52 weeks battery treatment program, and 20 hours of community service. While he also received a protective order of peaceful contact with the victim, his wife. However, it didn't end there. The NBA also conducted its own review under its league domestic violence policy. He was later suspended in 2016 for a total of 8 games without pay at the start of the following season. The Sacramento Kings also went on to support the league disciplinary decision on the incident. T.Y. Lawson. Ty Lawson, as an NBA player, faced multiple cases that were related to alcohol between the year 2013 and 2015. As of January 2015, he was pulled over in Denver based on suspicion of driving under the influence of alcohol and was later arrested when confirmed. However, 6 months later in the same year, he was arrested again, but this time in Los Angeles for a similar offense after he failed a field sobriety test he underwent. According to court records, it was confirmed to have pleaded guilty to the DUI-related charges that stem from these incidents. He was charged on fines, probation, and a mandatory alcohol education program. His alcohol offenses didn't sit well with the Denver Nuggets and the league at large. Upon his second arrest, he was sent to a private alcohol treatment program, rehab, in 2015. During this period, his relationship with the Denver Nuggets deteriorated, which led to his trade with the Houston Rockets. The NBA, on the other hand, suspended him for 3 games based on his conduct and arrest. Teams also became cautious, as his actions led to teams not having trust in him, which affected his career credibility. In 2016 to 2017, he had probation violations as he failed to comply with his probation terms, and also failed 3 alcohol tests, which went on to result in a bench warrant for his arrest in March 2017. As time went on, his performance and role in the league game diminished, while he went on to exit the league quite earlier than many expected of someone of his skill level. Reggie Harding. Known as the first player to be drafted out of high school straight into the NBA in 1962. Reggie Harding's career was overshadowed by several recurring criminal convictions that extended beyond his professional basketball career. In 1965, while playing for the Detroit Pistons, he was arrested for assault and battery following a brawl. 2 days later, after the assault arrest, he was arrested again, but this time for loitering. Harding constantly struggled with behavioral issues and was always in the spotlight for the wrong reasons. During his time in the ABA League, he was always involved in several consistent discipline issues. His reputation was so bad that many believed he threw away the good things going on in his life due to his inability to stay out of trouble. On September 2, 1972, During a confrontation in Detroit, Michigan, Harding was shot, and he proceeded to die from the incident. According to reports and recounts, the shooting was established to be as a result of a confrontation with a local resident. A witness revealed Harding approached the native and was demanding for him to give him money before the incident escalated, and the man shot him. Eddie Johnson. In the year 2006, Eddie Johnson was arrested and charged with sexual battery which involved an 8-year-old girl in Ocala, Florida. The former NBA guard for the Atlanta Hawks was reported to have entered an apartment in the Parkside Garden, where the girl was babysitting her younger brother before Johnson had canal knowledge of her. After he committed the assault, he fled the scene immediately. Her mother came home shortly and found her daughter in distress and proceeded to call the police. The mother was able to identify Johnson based on the description the daughter gave her, but she made it known that he had no permission to be in her house despite knowing him in the neighborhood. Officers were able to locate him and he was apprehended. As at the time he was arrested, he was already waiting for trial based on a rape accusation from a 25-year-old lady. After several investigations and forensic evidence, it was determined he had carnal knowledge of the 8-year-old girl and was sentenced to life imprisonment without possibility of parole in the future. Unfortunately, on October 26, 2020, Johnson died in prison at the age of 65 while serving his sentence. Ruben Patterson. Ruben Patterson was another NBA player that was convicted of a third-degree attempted rape. He was involved in a legal dispute between his household employee. The incident stemmed from an occurrence on September 25, 2000, where Patterson was accused of attempting of having his way forcefully with his children nanny, who was 24 years old, at his home in Bellevue, Washington. During the time of the incident, it was reported that his wife was recovering from a surgery at the hospital. However, the nanny didn't stop working, despite the incident, due to her attachment with the children. 4 days later, she recounted her ordeal to his wife and made a formal complaint to the police on the assault. The case led on to a third-degree attempted rape charge, as the case heavily relied on the nanny's testimony without substantial physical evidence. During the hearing, he pleaded guilty to a lesser charge of attempted sexual assault, and as part of the plea agreement, he avoided longer prison sentence but was still required to register as a sex offender. He was given a 15-day jail sentence. The court also imposed on him probation and mandated counseling as part of the sentencing conditions for him. During all of these, he was suspended by the NBA, and later on, he was under restrictions based on his status as a registered offender. The Seattle Supersonics, who happened to be his team at the time, also distanced themselves from the situation. After his discipline period elapsed, he came back to the league, but the case remained attached to his record in the league. Don't forget to subscribe, and see you in the next video.